statute says whoever corruptly influences, obstructs, or impedes, or endeavors to influence, obstruct, or impede the due and proper administration of the law under which any pending proceeding is being had before any department or agency of the United States, or the due and proper exercise of the power of inquiry under which any inquiry investigation is being had by either House or any committee of either House or any joint committee of Congress. All that legal gobbledygook, what does that mean? So prosecutors are hoping that they can try and figure out how to put a round peg in a square hole or a square peg in a round hole by using this obstruction statute that has nothing to do with the proceedings that I'm talking about. They see that there's an Electoral College vote proceeding corruptly, that is a specific intent crime. And so what are they saying? They're saying that these quote-unquote fake electors were sent to Washington to overthrow the election that was won by Joe Biden. Now you have a little more context, right? To overthrow it. To overthrow it. That doesn't sound like what the Pennsylvania folks did. The archivist blocked it at the door. The problem was the state Supreme Court in Pennsylvania slammed the door and would not really accept any challenges to its own changes. The U.S. Supreme Court slammed the door and wouldn't accept an appeal to fix this and enforce the federal Constitution when it comes to the appointment of electors. And so they took this step, which was never going to work, and now a U.S. Attorney's Office for the Biden administration is investigating this under obstruction. This, as I said, is a specific intent crime, and as far as I'm concerned, this is preposterous. Absolutely preposterous. Even the words fake electors are intended to create a criminal notion around all of this activity. Then they're looking at, I assume, 18 U.S. Code 371, conspiracy to commit an offense or defraud the United States. And so they're looking at the president's lawyers, maybe the president himself, if they can snag him and others. And so they put out 40 subpoenas the other week. They're grabbing people's phones and so forth. If two or more persons conspire either to commit any offense against the United States or to defraud the United States or any agency thereof in any manner for any purpose, and one or more of such persons do any act to affect the object of the conspiracy, each shall be fined under this title. Conspiracy? When you're bringing an open, what you believe to be legal, what you believe to be constitutional challenge, in case some of the lawsuits succeed, and then there's seditious conspiracy, for God's sakes. 18 U.S. Code, Section 2384. If two or more persons in any state or territory, in any place subject to the jurisdiction of the United States, conspire to overthrow, put down, or destroy by force the government of the United States, or to levy war against them, or to oppose by force the authority thereof, or by force to prevent, hinder, or delay the execution of any law of the United States, or by force to seize, take, or possess any property of the United States, and so forth and so on, is a crime. Well, that clearly didn't occur. The roles and the responsibilities for the Electoral College are right here on the National Archives website. And among other things, it says the Constitution and federal law do not prescribe the method of appointment other than requiring their electors must be appointed on the Tuesday after the first Monday in November. After the general election, the governor of each state prepares at least 7 original certificates of ascertainment, listing the persons appointed as electors. Since federal law does not govern the general appearance of the certificate of ascertainment, the format can vary from state to state, but law requires the names of the electors chosen, the names of all other candidates for electors, and the number of votes they received. It has to be signed by the governor and the seal of the state. Well, obviously in Pennsylvania, the governor's a Democrat, so that wasn't going to happen. Each state must send at least one certificate of ascertainment to the archivist of the United States as soon as possible after the general election. And it goes on, federal law does not govern the general appearance of the certificate of vote, so the format can vary from state to state. So it's very particular. It's very particular. There was no crime here. Fake electors, obstruction, conspiracy to defraud. This was a failed attempt to send alternate electors to the National Archivist, to Congress, to be considered. In some states, should the litigation be successful, But there's no specific intent to commit a crime, none whatsoever. The real offenses here occurred early on, before the general election in 2020. In Pennsylvania, where the Supreme Court changed the election laws in violation of the federal Constitution. They did similar things in Wisconsin, similar things in Georgia, similar things in other states. And that was by design of the Democrat Party, the Biden campaign, and their lawyers. And people were trying to figure out constitutional and lawful ways to respond to this. I'm not even talking about what happened on the steps of the Capitol on January 6th. I'm talking about the Constitution and the law. So for prosecutors in the U.S. Attorney's Office in Washington, D.C., to myopically be looking at statutes that never were intended to apply to the Electoral College process, which is supposed to be a vibrant process, a lot of give and take, a lot of fighting and battling and so forth under the Constitution, we cannot have prosecutors